So what is it like, again, revisiting this work as kind of as new people that are seeing this for the first time? This is, again, you know, a really beloved film, and many people are coming back to it. So I'm just kind of curious. I'm starting with the repertory questions for you about what it's like to revisit your works after some time.
Every laugh is gold. The movie is a machine that works on me every single time I see it. It's like fresh eyes every time.
Yeah. What about you, Jeff?
It's so much fun watching it with Henry, and it's just, we just sit back. You know, obviously the film's very emotional, and you know, but there's a lot of laughs, and every good cut we just go, eh. We just elbow each other. we love the laughs, you know. I just enjoyed it. It was fun. It's very handcrafted. It feels of a time to me.
It definitely does. And yet I think also it transcends time, right? I think in so many ways it's so innovative, but I'll get into those questions in a minute. Okay, let's go back to then. Tell us the story of, each of you tell the story of how you came to be introduced to the artist that is Daniel Johnston.
I think the first time I heard about him was I was introduced to him by a filmmaker friend in Germany, a guy named Philip Graning, and he gave me a tape of Speeding Motorcycle, and he said, "You got to listen to this." Yeah. And it wasn't long after that I met Jeff. We were at the Berlin Film Festival together. Jeff was there showing his half Japanese film, and I went to see it. I couldn't believe that someone had made a film about half Japanese.
This is 1993.
1993. So I'm like, I gotta see this. So I went to see it, and I came out of this screening just shaking my head. I saw Jeff. I said, "You made this movie? You made this movie just for me." I was the only person that seemed to get it. Everybody thought it was like Spinal Tap. It was a mockumentary, but it wasn't. And I knew it wasn't. So we talked about Daniel Johnston that in the first conversation we ever had together.
Yeah, we went to the Berlin Cafe, and this is pretty good. So we're sitting there, and we're talking about Daniel Johnston. Henry says to me, "I used to be in this punk rock band." "Yeah, you probably never heard of us." I said, "Try me." He says, "Well, I went by a different name at the time. I was Hank Rank. I was a drummer. You probably hear us. A band called Crime, San Francisco." I said,
"Crime, San Francisco, we have the drummer Hank Rank."
I said, "Crime? Are you kidding me? I just got the bootleg, Hotwire My Heart. Sonic Youth just covered Hotwire My Heart. It's like the guy's royalty." So then we started talking about Daniel Johnston, and I'm telling you, we started saying that one day this is 93, we're going to make the Daniel Johnston film together.
10 years later is when we started working on the film.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so you're bonding then over his music and his artistry, obviously, but then how do you get introduced to him? What is that process then like for you, especially Jeff, as like a director? You've made Half Japanese, that was your first feature documentary. And then you're like, how do you approach someone like Daniel? Like, what's that like?
All right, here's the thing. So I was doing college radio all through the mid-'80s. And Daniel, in this there really was an underground a long time ago. It was very small. And Daniel was kind of like a rising star in the underground. He was not, largely loved at all. But a few people really did him, and I did. So I started collecting articles on him. I thought he was fascinating. And the tapes were so amazing because in between the songs, this is like 1985, he recorded his mom and him yelling at each other and put it between the songs on the cassettes. I thought it was like the funniest thing I'd ever heard. I really did love the songs. The songs were about unrequited love and his own mental illness. It was very autobiographical. And I just thought this guy was like the king of comedy, Rupert Pupkin in the basement, with the mom, and he's taping it. And that's all I could think about. And and he was also Ignatius J. Reilly, and at the time, probably my favorite book, The Confederacy of Dunces. So in my mind, that's what this guy was. He didn't tour, so he was just a myth. And we certainly didn't know if that Lori that he was writing all the songs about was even real. We just figured he made her up. But that was a long time ago. That's like 1985.
But then, so how did you find him?
This is you
kind of going, you like you're this deep dive into his work and you're a fan, but then I'm curious, how did then you connect with him? Like to then, like, let's convince you I'm going to make a movie about you.
All right, so we flash forward to, we didn't start making this film until 2000. So the whole time I'm collecting a folder on his stories. Like, it was tragic, but he was actually in the news. Like, he was in the Village Voice, the New York Free Press. So if he would unfortunately throw a woman from church out a window, that's in the news. If he crashes a plane, it's in the news. So as far as I was concerned, this was a story unfolding, and I like stories. So I was pen pals with Jeff Tartikoff, the greatest manager of all time, the guy with the cassettes, and he introduced me to Daniel. I was probably in Austin, I think, and I was directing, I don't know, a burger commercial, a chicken commercial, something. And after the show, Tartikoff introduced me, and I told Daniel what I wanted to do. And he was like, sure, let's do it. And it was that, as simple as that, really. I think Jad Fair vouched for me because they were pals and collaborators.
Right.
And then I guess I called Henry.
Yeah, well, it was really after he started performing again, after a long hiatus.
Right.
And Jeff called me and said, Daniel's performing again. He's back. He's able to function to a degree. So we just jumped on that opportunity and said, let's do it. Let's make this movie.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't have this movie in mind when we started. We were thinking about something much more modest and something that we were going to do very quickly and very cheaply. And
no, but when you say modest, though, I mean it, like, I want to think about like the story. Is the story modest as well? Like, what do you mean by that?
This is Henry's version. I'll clear that up.
Yeah. We didn't. We thought that we had access to a large archive of of material that had been shot of Daniel over a long period of time, and we thought we were going to go there and do some interviews and kind of tie it together and then use this archive and make that film.
Right.
But then we did not have access to that archive. Mm-hmm. And when we went there to the house, and we thought we were just going to be there for maybe a week at most, and when we got there and we saw what we saw, which was the best documented person and family that we had ever seen. I mean, we found garbage bags filled with cassette tapes in the garage, unmarked, most of them, some with eyeballs, but not any indication of what they really were. Yeah. And the family was obsessed with self-documentation. They had closets full of photo albums, Super 8 film, video, every consumer format they embraced, and they had massive volumes of it. So when we saw that, we realized that we had, stumbled upon a remarkable archive.
Better than the archive you thought you were.
Then there was the bedroom closet, and there was a shoebox.
Yeah.
And we opened up this shoebox, and it was like, whoa, our favorite thing on earth, Super 8mm films. And that's what we ended up seeing. So Daniel's family, not only did they have great home movies, but no one knew Daniel Johnston made films that were actually great and funny.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's like so the editing that you have to see just clips of it that is just so. I don't know. There's a.
We helped Daniel out a little bit with the editing, trust me, but it's okay. The films are funny.
You don't have to give away your secrets here.
But
come on.
They were being eaten by mold. So Henry and I treated this like an excavation. We're going to save this stuff. And then there was like stacks of notebooks in the garage underneath the leaf blower, and the gas thing was leaking. It looked like it was really big, giant, hefty bags, right? We figured they were going to throw this stuff out. They thought it was worthless.
Wow.
So it was like, we got to get this out of here. So that became a massive, we went to Walmart and got tubs and tubs and FedExed everything to save it.
Yeah.
That was actually the hardest part.
And then every tape was listened to and transcribed and indexed and cross-indexed. So
by me,
yes, by Jeff, and which gave him this real familiarity with the material. But Daniel recorded virtually every moment that he was awake for years, And many of the tapes are filled with, if he was watching TV or listening to records or the radio, that's what's on the tape. But he also
But then there's the Statue of Liberty arrest.
Yes, he captured these key moments in his life.
I was going to say the Sonic, when he's out with Sonic Youth and just
when you're gonna strangle Steve Shelley, you record it.
It's truly like, yeah, speaking of that archive, I just wanted to just take a moment as I'm hearing this and my mind is being blown again, that more just like, that the family, I just want to maybe make a note as I'm processing this, that if the family was also archiving, then that to me is such an extension of Daniel's story and like where he got it from, right? Like what a kind of beautiful home environment to kind of set the stage. It wasn't maybe just him, he learned it from a family as well. So you not only stumble, but you have this treasure trove of work. I'm so curious then, like, this kind of goes back to, you said you approached Daniel and he said, yeah, I'm into it. But then you have, where I guess is the conversation of what you're going to use and him and how involved is he kind of in this process, again, kind of where he's at, or when you met him, obviously, when he was back to performing and his mental health was a little bit more stable. What was that kind of like of discussing with him what you were going to use?
Well, even at his best, we quickly realized that Daniel could not host his own film.
It was a blessing.
Yes. We sat him down and tried to interview him and wasted tremendous quantities of film with absolutely unusable material. He was not only uncooperative, but he didn't really know his own story. And so we had to shoot around him and tell the story through other people's eyes. And there's just a few moments in the film where Daniel is speaking for
that's
the
at
film.
the very end. That's like he does his artist statement about art as a frame. That was like 30 seconds out of 6 days of interviews that we threw out in the garbage. And that was fun. It was great because then it became a challenge. So once I got a hold of all those tapes and I had the headphones on and transcribed, and it was all gold, and I would call Henry and play it for him. It was this great tape that never made it into the film, unfortunately. Some of our favorite stuff we can still perform for you. But anyway, so that became the internal monologue. It was like Zelig, the therapy sessions. So only the close family members and friends were telling the story. They had all this archive, which was great. Stills, slides, footage, video. But we also knew all these other filmmakers who had tried to document Daniel. All that video that you see, obviously I didn't shoot that stuff, I wasn't around.
Like all the shows.
So people all gave me their footage.
Yeah.
Richard Linklater's footage is in there.
Yeah. Quite a few people actually contributed. And that was great, but that's common now, with getting archived for documentaries. At the time, it was quite a task. So that was cool. So we just had this stuff to work with, but then I came up with a 3-act narrative, really. Yeah. But those tapes are everything. Yeah. I felt.
Oh, absolutely. And I think my conversation is going to go all over the place. I'm realizing as we're talking to have my notes, and I'm like, wait, I want to jump here and here. And I'm thinking a lot about, again, the structure of this. I guess also just acknowledging, like watching this film 20 years later, there's a different conversation around mental health. And you guys were kind of constructing this film. I'm not different, it's just more like we talk about it, right? In the way that's kind of documented in the film. And forgive me, I don't know, this is just my personal take on it, is that it's kind of like so great now that it's, it is kind of more, in the open, right? And I would say, I'm just so curious again, as you were going through these tapes and knowing that you couldn't really maybe use, Daniel's conversation about, you said documenting his own life, but you really wanted to honor his life, which your film does, and his artistry and his journey. It was just, my question is kind of like, you knew going in that he had, he was neurodivergent and something was, different with him, but like, what were you prepared for? And then, like, what did you learn from him as you're kind of also creating a document about someone's own, like, mental health journey?
The story was, in his own art and music, a documentation. He'd already done that work. He was, all his work outside of the Unrequited Love Songs are really about his life and his mental illness. He was so open with it.
Yeah.
So it was just tell it honestly, tell it well, tell it with empathy. And that was it. We didn't really dwell on it that hard. We just wanted to tell it well and be true to him and his work and his life and his art. We really loved the guy's art and music and what he had done. He was very unrecognized. And at the same time, he was very, as you learn in the film, really difficult to be around. So, we thought we were going to hang out with Casper the Friendly Ghost and you want to give him a hug. Casper doesn't always hug you back. He was very, very difficult. Right. But we knew that.
Right. Maybe that's good.
Is that fair?
What you were prepared for. Yeah. Okay, I have to take a step back and then talk about, again, his family, like his immediate family is so obviously instrumental to his life, and as we were just talking about before and how they documented. What was it like getting to know his family? We got time, Henry. Go for it.
That's a painful question.
Okay.
Very painful question.
Do we not want to answer it?
No, I'll answer it.
Okay.
But Daniel's parents they're both deceased now. I saw a picture of his grave recently, and it's Bill and Mabel and Daniel on a triple headstone. Mm-hmm. So they're together. Bill was a very difficult guy to deal with. He was very skeptical of us, and said some very hurtful things to us during the process of making this film. His mother was the really kind of wore the pants in the family. She was the power behind the throne, and she ruled with an iron fist. We had to work with them and around them, I would say. And there's no love lost between me and Bill or Mabel. None.
And Daniel's brother, who's the black hand in the film, who didn't believe in him, his name is Dick. Let's leave it at that.
I mean, I'll just say, and that's like the power of movie making and like the magic of it, because you extract maybe, or perhaps they decided to. To me, I was just always moved by the fact that his father is crying, and there might be some backstory there that you don't want to get into.
It's important to note, in a sense, they were dying to tell this story. And the scene with Bill crying, telling the story of the plane crash, that was day one of filming.
That was hour one.
Yeah.
And camera on, cry.
We had no plan whatsoever to bring up the plane crash. Day one. We're like, let's get to know them for a week or two, and then we'll get to the plane crash.
Yeah.
That's not what happened. We also don't know that Daniel sleeps all day, so there's nothing to film. And we have an expensive Super 16mm film crew. We're paying everybody. We're like, well, we better shoot something. Hey, let's shoot Bill. Action. The guy starts crying instantly and telling the story. And I broke my heart, and I was crying with him, and I had nothing but empathy for it, but he just, boom. So I think it's the first thing he told us. But Daniel's sleeping in the wall right behind him, like that's the bedroom. And then he doesn't wake up until, later in the afternoon. He's just up all night in the garage, as you saw. So we had to learn how to schedule this shoot economically. That was interesting. But it was a great scene, and we love that he told us that. Yeah. But I tell you, I didn't ask him a question. I just went with it. I mean, I was telling the truth. That's what happened. The stories you're kind of telling are just expanding my view of this film in so many ways.
The real pain with the family came after the film was completed.
That's a story.
Okay.
And the film premiered at Sundance, and we brought the family out, and we made an event out of it.
There's 9 people Henry flew in and paid for them and put them up. Okay,
yeah.
And they haven't seen a frame of this thing yet.
Yes.
So you'd think,
yeah,
they'd be a little appreciative of that.
So the film premieres, and at Sundance, and I remember I was sitting there waiting for the film to start, and a Sundance usher comes up to me and says, "You have to move." And I said, "What?" And he said, we need this seat. I said, "But this is my movie." I said, you have to move."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Oh, well, I didn't understand." So I got up and who sat in my seat? It was
John C. Reilly.
no, it was Spider-Man.
Who played Spider-Man?
Tobey Maguire? That's
Tobey
Spider-Man?
Maguire.
You're right, Tobey Maguire.
There are many Spider-Mans. I'm like,
I got kicked out of my seat at my own premiere so that Tobey Maguire could sit there. And but he did tell me afterwards. He said, "That's the best film I've ever seen." So that made it okay. But
This is the first time I've heard this.
oh yeah, after the screening, we all go back to the house and we're taking our victory lap. It was a tremendous premiere, and the family, Bill and Mabel, were very, very unhappy.
And the
why?
brother Dick was the most unhappy.
Yes. And what was their objection to this film? Because we made one promise to them. We said everything in this film would be true. And it is. And they objected to one line in this film so vehemently that they never cooperated with us again. And they basically sabotaged the release and the soundtrack album and all the things that we had lined up.
They called Sony. They didn't want it to come out. It was the worst.
And
But
what was the line?
everybody wants to know what the line was, right? What's the line?
What was
of
the
film
line?
that was so egregious that this film cannot see the light of day ever? It's you want to do the line?
Sure. The line was Dave Thornberry's line.
Best friend.
Best friend, where he says,
Quote.
Daniel would go to church, and he would go to church to look at the girls.
To stare at girls to try to find a girlfriend, unquote.
Right.
Forget about it. That has to come out.
They wanted that line out of the movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets worse. So we're like, that's insane. What's wrong with that line? He's a teenager.
Also, none of them said it. So it's not even I'm so curious.
It's true.
Right, someone else said they should maybe more be mad at Daniel. Well, go on.
So the brother Dick then calls Thornberry behind our backs and says, "Dave, you have to tell Jeff and Henry that line is untrue. Daniel will go to hell if he's blasphemous and staring at girls in church." And Dave calls us because we're friends with him at this point. He tells Dick, "No, I'm not taking. I'm not going to retract that line. It is true. I was there. You were away at college. I was his best friend." So he would triangulate, do anything he can to get that line out of the movie. But we held our ground. But then they extorted us for a lot of money for soundtrack music that was free. And we paid the bill instead of taking the line out of the movie.
Artist way. I like it. They stuck to it. Wow. I'm still processing this. Okay. I wanted to maybe talk about, there's an artistic choice in here that you guys did make, which is that you did an interview with Gibby in a dentist chair. And I was sitting in the back watching this, and again on the big screen, and I'm like, all that teeth, all that mouth were in. Please explain the setup to this. Why? I don't know. What inspired you?
Well, it was in the script. No, there was no script. So we knew we wanted to interview Gibby. We were in Austin. He lived somewhere like an hour away from Austin, somewhere. And we were trying to coordinate a time to shoot him. And he was like, I'm not available. And he said, well, I am going, to the dentist in Austin. And so I said, well, can we interview you that day? And he said, well, you can interview me at the dentist. At the dentist? He said, yeah. So I called the dentist. I said, can we interview your patient during his appointment? And the dentist was like, sure. So I said, Jeff, we're interviewing Gibby at the dentist.
How many of you were in this room? Like,
well, then I got really excited. See, I had seen the Butthole Surfers on their first tour. You see the footage here where they, fire and naked girls, drummers, and it was amazing. And they used to project medical films behind them on that first tour, like operations, and it was like an inside joke. So when Henry told me that this is going to happen, and the dentist was like a really cool dentist, I said, "This is great. I love it." Because the truth is, even then we hated talking heads, but we had to shoot them, and we're like, "That's fun. Let's do something different here." And then once we're doing it, you couldn't resist, like it's a little shop of horrors, like get in there, So it was fun.
It was also fun to watch, just so you know, like that medical view of teeth. I was looking at my watch, and I could talk to you forever, but we're going to have to wrap this up soon. I have a couple more questions, and one of them is just, again, maybe because you saw me do my lap, I kind of go a little bit broad here, so hear me out. I mean, to your point I want to go back to the interview that you did get with Daniel that you put in. He does say this remarkable line, it hits me every time, which is like, I think art has always been inspired by beauty. And I always just like sit with that and I think about those like, again, the art in an artist's way. And so I just want to open that up to both of you as to like, what inspires you as an artist, or where do you find inspiration in art?
I'd rather tell the story of that line.
Please do.
Yeah, so that line wasn't in the movie. We were done. Ted Hope came on as executive producer. I admired his work a lot.
Yeah.
Henry and I, we weren't done with the film yet, but we loved Crumb so much.
Yeah.
And documentaries, even then, were really not popular yet. And Crumb had David Lynch Presents Crumb. And I got an idea. I said, David Lynch had nothing to do with Terry's art of making Crumb. He put his name on it. So I told Henry, I said, let's go meet Ted Hope, but we don't know him yet. And we showed him a couple cut scenes. And I said, listen, I'd like you to do the same thing. I said, Ted Hope, executive producer for us, because we think we got something on our hands here. But we don't want to get lost. At the time, we were calling the documentary Ghetto, because documentaries were not respected. So he said, sure. You got to make me one promise, he says. It's got to be as good as Crumb. I said, it's going to be as good as Crumb. And then that was it. He joined forces with us, but then get to the line. So now the film's done. He shows up in Beechwood Canyon, where the film was cut in my garage, and he watches it, and he said, what is Daniel's artist statement? It's the only thing that's missing in this film. And so it was like a challenge. I said, that's interesting. I said, go sit in the kitchen for like a half hour. So I ran into the edit room, whipped this scene up, because we had all the 6 days of Daniel talking, but I remembered he said that one beautiful thing. I said, that's what Ted needs. And we had some extra footage of Daniel painting or whatever. And it was just like an insta scene. But it made the film a lot better, and that was a great contribution from Ted. So, but I'm glad it hit you that way, because I love that line, and I wouldn't have thought of it until I was pushed to figure it out.
Yeah, just hearing his voice, it really kind of resonates at land.
Yeah.
For you, Henry, when you think about artistry and art, or in that line, maybe, what comes to mind?
Well, I took a huge risk making this film. I paid for it myself out of my pocket. I took my children's college funds and every penny that I could scrape together to pay for this movie. And when I look at it, I see a movie that no one else would have made, and no one else but Jeff could have made. And it was a movie where Jeff really came into his maturity as a director, and I'm so proud to have been a part of that, and all the great work that he's done since then. And it was really the two of us against the world throughout this whole thing, and it was a great story to tell, and I couldn't be happier.
Thanks, Henry.
Sentimental question, because I have you both. Just kind of wrapping this up, this film is it's a complex film in the way that it's also portraying such a beautiful, singular artist. And I just would like to know from each of you, what did Daniel teach you?
Daniel taught me that the Ruddles are as great as the Beatles. I didn't know that, and now I do.
And I didn't know until Daniel told me that the demons drink Mountain Dew. And that's true.
That's exactly how I wanted to end this Q&A. Big round of applause.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They will be in the lobby with some very special merch. Just like if you were at a music show. We hope to see you back very soon. Thank you again to our special guests.